Hello, welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in and sharing this now moment with myself and with one another. For those of you who haven't seen these videos before, welcome. And welcome back if you have. My intention is always benevolence for all and to assist in raising the frequency and the vibration with one another and on Mother Earth. And I've been posting some things on Instagram, and sometimes I say that and people go, well, what does that mean? Well, essentially we all hold a vibration, and when I do these videos, my intention is to share a very high vibration from my heart space so that the feelings omitted from my videos can literally be felt, especially if you're sensitive to that energy. So one of the things I posted was a repost from Jane 108, who is a mathematician and has a lot of great information around sacred geometry and things like that. And it was the toroidal field. So a lot of the things I've talked about is getting into the heart and that toroidal field. Well, I didn't realize the toroidal field went out so far. The toroidal field actually expands out, I knew, on an average of 5 to 8 to 12 feet. But then I read somewhere that it can actually, it's been scientifically studied to have gone out as far as 5 miles. Whoa. So that was pretty cool. So I've been kind of reposting and sharing some things like that to add to the knowledge that I'm already kind of holding on to in my own toolbox, which has been fun. So I just wanted to share a little bit about that. I have not updated my blog yet, although I will be updating it within the next 48 hours. And I'm going to kind of talk about that a little bit. We're in this full moon eclipse energy. And when we're in this new, this type of energy, it feels almost like a new moon too. So from my perspective and from what my guides have been telling me over the course of the last few days is that it's almost, yes, it's a reset button to kind of flush out what you don't want and bring more in of what you do want. But it's also, basically, it feels like a combination of the two. So if you've got projects that you want to start, right, it's a good time to kind of set your intentions. Think of this cycle as almost like a new year. Even though I know the Galactic New Year is coming up like in the middle of, or the end of July. That's a whole other video. But I'm treating this full moon as if it's a new full moon. Meaning, for me, I've been feeling guided to and just kind of start some new projects or start basically visualizing and setting out some frameworks for those new projects, but also pulling into completion those that are not complete. And I have a lot of those. I don't know if any of you guys out there have a lot of those projects that you just never quite finish. I've got a lot of those. So what I'm starting is with the physical. I started a cleanse. I talked about that in one of my other videos. Can't remember what I called it. Oh, I think it was called Management, Ascension Symptom Management. It's not just about ascension symptoms. It's about raising the frequency and vibration, getting alkaline and all that. But then also projects I've been working on also have included getting organized, cleaning things out, getting rid of things that no longer fit in they don't fit, literally or figuratively. But on the flip side, I've also started a vision board. So I'm putting together this vision board. It's been ongoing since I came back from Sedona. And in this vision board, I might do a video on it at some point, but essentially I'm cutting out pictures and just putting together a pattern that I'd like to see kind of unfold in my own life. And it's just fun to do it. It's a creative aspect. I've shared in session work with a few light workers to actually do that when you're feeling stuck, because it's a form of creativity. And if you are cutting things out and visualizing and then putting them on a board and using your hands and using your imagination, it actually helps to not only trigger certain activations, but it helps to kind of keep things flowing energetically. What else? I've started to finally do some more exercise in my life, which as a yoga instructor, most people think, oh, you do yoga all of the time. Well, let me just share, it's really easy to not do it. It's really easy just to kind of just do the meditation. That's my favorite. I could meditate all the time or be in a walking meditation. The yoga for me, as much as I really enjoy it when I'm doing it, it is a little bit of a struggle to get that project off and going. And so I've been starting to do some more movement. Also, what I've been feeling with these new frequencies, of course, are all the downloads and activations. Lots of things happening in dream time, and lots of things happening in that in between theta, that space where you're just about to fall asleep or you're just waking up. So being aware of that, setting those intentions. I've been doing my affirmations or mantras in the sense of just letting go of things that no longer serve me, full moon, and inviting in all of the activations, downloads, and upgrades that are benevolent for all in alignment with my highest and greatest good and expansion. So it is, for me, it's a marriage almost of full moon and new moon. And that's kind of what one of the themes for our energy is right now, right? That divine alchemy and that divine marriage of three, right? So we have the feminine, the masculine inner child. We've got that representative on all aspects. Also, this can also be in the personal, obviously, life. What are some things we'd like to do more of, and things that we know we should probably do less of, and starting to kind of move those out of our fields, or at least recognizing what they are so that we can pinpoint them, so that when we do spin out at certain times and go, well, what did I do differently that created this particular energy, we can kind of go, oh, okay, well, I never did set an intention, and I kind of just went into this without direction, which I have a tendency to do sometimes. And so, what else? Okay, so there is this underlying energy sometimes of that full moon anxiety or anxiousness, along with that new moon, I need to get something done. But that full moon, I can't quite put it together, right? So for me, full moons can be very like unorganized, but then the new moon feels very precise and organized for me personally. So it's been a little bit of a combination of those two, and I had found myself having a little bit of difficulty following it. One minute I'd feel super organized, and the next minute I'd feel like, I'm gonna go write a poem. So that's something that I've just had to really kind of allow myself to follow a little bit and not fight the currents, because there's a lot going on that my linear mind doesn't quite grasp in that moment, but my multidimensional aspect knows what's going on, and that's why I'm getting these clues to just follow your heart. So I am going back to this toroidal field, the heart, the heart, the heart. If we can stay in that space, it actually reprograms the brain, so to speak. It's that heart-brain connection. It's thinking from the heart, feeling into our thoughts, right? Or so on and so forth. So that's been really big for me as well. All right, so I'm just gonna go into a little flow and see what wants to come through in benevolence for all, for the highest and greatest good, and go from there. So I invite you to close your eyes and just breathing, doing some deep breaths in and long exhales. Maybe as you breathe in, and remember, guys, this is about feeling into these. These aren't necessarily meant to be understood on a linear level, although, you know. So when you breathe, maybe focusing that breath, bringing it into the lower belly, the middle belly, the chest, expanding it out. Got to start using more of my yoga, right? Yoga, yoga, yoga. To become one, yoking together. And exhaling and just kind of letting everything go and just getting into that space of allowing. So you can set your intention with any of the light language videos that you've listened to, or any videos, just to receive or be open to receive whatever is for your highest and greatest good in alignment with benevolence for all in this now moment. And just be open to feel what comes in. If you don't feel anything, that's okay too. I don't know if it's going to be just light language or just a message. A lot more messages have been coming through for me today. Oh no, it's light language. Here we go. A little bit of both. Again, that divine marriage, right? Dorostoste o kukuana ne kikiana o ha e ki enhestea kukuana. Due hene a kukuhene et I stiana o kuahene. Isti ki ana hakukua esti ana hea o kukuena isti ana heti duo esti kikini ana kukua esti ana ya o ka o hene ini o kukua esti ana iki duo na esti ki o he o no ha eti ki na ha esti a kukua. We transmit to you these heartfelt frequencies, these heart alignments, a light within your frequency, allowing in, guys, a lot of play on words here, aligning in, in, like the cat. Dia isti kiki in het istia wa ha wan het istiana ak he usti. Due vai he kiki ne stia o ai stia kiki no ai na due ni ai ne kiki ne o stia ki ne he ai o an he due ai na he o an o an he o ni stia ne ana di ai kiki mi ai ane o an kuku ni stia ne ai an he. You guys are more than welcome to join me as I do this. Tapping is really good for the body, especially in the space between the throat and the heart. Right in here, right below the collarbones. As you retrain your brain, entrain your brain, entrainment, to operate from these heartfelt frequencies, from your knowing. I'm seeing the moon. It's like the divine feminine aspect. This divergence, this diverges, this divulges a pattern, a new way of behaving, a new wave of behaviors, behavior synchronicities that then allow themselves to overlap within the field. So I'm seeing this reference to the video that I did on snow, and I think I posted it. It has a little bit to do with the chakra system and how visualizing the heart frequency expanding out 5 miles, the toroidal field that goes around the heart. Or if you can't visualize it going that large, just visualize it expanding out into the size of your room. Let's say 12 feet, right? Or the space of the room. And visualize that like the flower of life or the seed of life goes up and then it envelops and envelops and envelops. So it's linking up and anchoring in. and it's allowing others to then express more of what they want to express. So what I'm seeing is people are coming out of the woodwork that are light workers and star seeds, and they are like, it's okay to be you. I love you no matter what. Or they are feeling in love with themselves, and not from a selfish, egoic aspect, but from a higher self aspect. That space of, I love who I am, and I'm going to express my love for self in essence of, I love my body, and I love the space that I exist in, and I love the foods that I put into my body, and I love animals. And this is this gratifying. It's being in gratitude. It can feel very gratifying. They're saying that's a play on words. So this is why I write a lot of stuff down, because I can see it better when I write it out where it's unfolding into sometimes. But essentially they're showing me a graph, or picturing that Rubik's Cube that I drew. Okay, so I'm going to draw this. Okay, here we go. So there's what I'm seeing. I never should have erased that, but it doesn't matter. What's that mean? Never should have? Anyway, so let me go back into flow a little bit. So as we come into these connections, and as we send these frequencies, and they're kind of drawing awareness to my shirt, like a prismatic effect. This heart tone lights up the grid structure, and anomalies are presented. Anomalies are presented in many different arenas. And they're showing arenas, like picture a big arena with like a lot of people in there, like watching in a football stadium. And so it's happening in collective droves is what they're saying. And there are many who will not know or understand how this is happening. But for those of us that are awake, those of us that are in alignment, in enlightenment with the light that we are creating, we are spelling out the new mathematics, the new mathematical instruction grid that is now the determining factor of what will be created in essence. I'm kind of seeing, though, it's like a time warp, so it could take a little time to catch up, to tie in and connect the dots is what they're saying. But it has already begun. Remembering that your ancestors built the architecture, the foundational building blocks, many eons ago, and recognizing that that is now. So they're kind of showing me pictures of how, like, I drew these bubbles. So it's going to be, how do I explain it? Picture these. So this Rubik's Cube is our reality, but it's not. But I'm just using it as an example. And you've got these layers. And let's say these layers are not only dimensional, but they're density. And you're here, but you're also, so let's say there's you in 2019. Okay, and then there's you in 280, whatever it might be for you. And all these different versions. And it doesn't even have to be you. Let's say there's you and your guides, if you can't visualize yourself being in all these different places at one time. Everything's happening now. So let's say you've got a guide, and your guide's name is George, and he's a monk that is in the mountains of whatever it might be called. And I want to just touch briefly on that, because when the monks are praying, they are creating a field around that place that is establishing certain connections with certain, the words that's coming through is hierarchies, but that's also play on words. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up and write that down, because that's a big one. Hierarchy. They're showing me arcs of light. They're showing me air. They're showing me a triangle, like this Pink Floyd with the prismatic effect, but it's a different shape triangle. Either way, they're creating this architecture, higher architecture, architectural spin in the field that they are existing in. And this then allows a substantial harmonic to be relayed through the earth and the field that they are existing in. So let's say, for example, the monks are chanting, oming, doing mantras, but even more importantly than all of that, they are in the heart, in an arena of people. So let's pretend that you've got monks as an example, and they're in alignment with each other. And that energy, so earlier when I said the toroidal field, we're kind of all over the place here, but when I said the toroidal field was going out like 15 feet, I'm sorry, 5 feet, although I think it goes bigger than that. But let's say, for example, that your field goes out 5 feet when you're just being you. And then all of a sudden you get into a space of gratitude and it goes out 12 feet. And you're in a space of 100 other monks going out 12 feet. And that expands out 5 miles. But then you've got 100 monks that are in this space that goes out 5 miles around each of them. So you've got this going out through the grid, right? I think that'll give you a visualization. I like to think of bubbles. If you've ever blown bubbles and you've got the mix of bubbles and there's all these bubbles and they expand out, they're all connected, yet they're all spreading this energy out through the architecture or matrix or void that we all exist in together. So what happens is this then creates a, they're showing me a bubble, another bubble, but a different kind of bubble, like a sonic sonar bubble. So I'm going to go back into that in just a minute. So what they're showing me is it creates, like the dolphins do, a sonar sonic bubble that then allows for creation to occur. But more than that, it's like, it's beyond my 3D level of description, but hopefully that gives you a little idea of what it looks like. And essentially it then creates a wormhole bubble. Either way, sonic sonar bubble. So this then creates, so the more people that are in this, now I'm going to go back to the dimensions in just a minute, are creating this space around the field. So let's say I get together with the group and we're in a particular area, let's say California, or let's say Sedona. It is creating a field within that space on Earth that is then creating a field in the collectives that make up that space that then allows for certain activations, upgrades, downloads to actually sink in and to occur. It opens a portal, so to speak. It opens a hole, in other words, that allows certain energies to then influx and anchor in. And that's essentially what's going on when we get into this heartfelt coherence, because it's that toroidal field, right? And if you look at a toroidal field, it's a vortex of energy. Anyway, so I'm not going to get into all of that, but the dimensions also, it's this essence of, let's say this is happening, so this is not only happening now, but it's also happening, ooh, I think I'm getting a big sound. Sorry guys, I think this is creating like a really weird sound. That might be a little better. I kept hearing this whistle. I'm still kind of hearing it. I ordered my microphone, so hopefully that'll improve the sounds. So hopefully it's not too much distortion. But my point is that, so this is also a dimensional aspect, right? This is also, it's not just now, well, everything is now, but it's also happening through these portals. So let's say this portal is opened up. Let me pause this. Okay, maybe that's a little bit better. So let's say then there's these layers, and it's like, I talked about this before, like connecting the dots. It's like all of a sudden, and this is especially done with the help of these astrological alignments that we're all going through. And I've talked about this before, but essentially if you picture a wormhole, right? Something is opened when we all get into a space of coherence, besides our hearts. Our heart is a portal. If that makes sense. So our heart is a portal to allow in more of source energy of what we are. And it basically helps plug us into everything. So it's not the brain, although the brain also, everything has a toroidal field around it, but this one is most powerful, more powerful than the brain's electromagnetic energy. It creates, so go on to heartmath.org. You can learn more about that. But this, so now not only is this, it's like it bubbles out and creates this like epic wave of sonic wave of energy. All right, so I'm gonna go back into a little bit of flow now that I've kind of shown what that looks like, and just visualize this on a mass scale. That's why, you know, unity meditations are so powerful. HeartMath did a study on that, and you can go onto their website and learn more about that. Hopefully I'm not too far away from the microphone. I think this is kind of sending that sound back, so. And as these tones are funneled through, so to speak, the reality that we weave or exist in, that we sit in, I'm hearing the baskets that we weave, basket weavers. Anyways, it allows for us all to sit within a new wave of oneness, a new wave of being, and a new wave of recognizing the oneness within each other. It gives depth, of course, to the meaning namaste. May the light within me see the light within you. It literally does allow that to happen. And then in that co-creative energy that's coming through, it allows us to reconnect that which was disconnected. So it allows us to essentially branch out, picture little fibers extending. So like, let's say we weren't able to connect with our guides before because we weren't in that coherence, right? We weren't in a coherent space. Inheritance is what I'm seeing. Hierarchy. Darn you, spell check. Anyways, I'll have to look that one up. But so we're in this heart coherence, and it branches out and connects with this over here. And then this essentially is connecting through all of these layers. And if you picture a Rubik's Cube, and you picture connecting, one side has a yellow square and the other side has a yellow square, and it has to kind of go through in these patterns to get to the other side in an energetic scale. And the sound, it's like this, again, they're referencing it back to the sonar bubble. And as these anomalies are formed, so to speak, there becomes much more collaboration and questions that are asked that perhaps were ignored in previous information, or perhaps that were buried under old architecture that are now able to come to the surface. So again, I'm seeing these places that are being discovered that have been there the whole time, but we weren't ready to receive the information that they offered. This also comes in the form of teachers, places, and spaces. So they're showing me on Earth and beyond Earth. Some of it has been known for a very long time, but has not been brought into the fold. And they're showing me because it wouldn't have mixed well with the recipe. So it would have been folded in, and it wouldn't have worked. And there's lots of layers to that, guys, lots of perspectives. So, and I'm not going to get into all of that. Essentially, things were not given to us. We had information, it was hidden. I guess I am going to get into a little bit. Information that we've been searching for has been there the whole time, yet it took the right energy to bring it forward and to reveal it. This cannot be stopped. For as we all open to the light of the languages, to the language, we open up the language barriers. They're kind of showing me the Tower of Babel, that there's been so much that the communication has not been able to get through these barriers. But now that these toroidal sonar waves, booms, bubbles are open, you can't stop it because the wheels have been set in motion. And we are the wheels, we are the bubbles, we are the dolphins. They're showing me just as the teachings of other masters. So they're showing me the teachings of Jesus or Buddha or, well, so many other masters. I'm just naming off those two, but they weren't always like accepted with open arms. Because there are so many more people that are awake to that knowledge, it's not like it can be shut down. So I'm seeing like a whole wave of people that are embracing this knowledge that maybe are unexpected. Like we might have had, and that's why it's so important not to judge others based on anything that you see. It's all important to come here because, you know, if you were to judge somebody by the way they look or even their behavior, have you guys ever met someone who is a savant or someone who has certain special gifts, but they're just different and it's hard to visualize them in the mainstream? That's kind of a judgment. And so we're being invited to recognize that everybody is a unique expression of the whole. So not everybody looks like you or I. They might look really different. And this is also in reference to our galactic brothers and sisters who many of us are connecting with in dream time or even in memories, right? Right? Because this isn't just Earth. This is as above, so below. So they're showing me that this goes out into, like, picture this is Earth, but then there's also the bigger, I'm so, my artwork, right? Did I tell you guys the story of when I was in art class? One of my best friends and I growing up had art together, which is probably why we got such a low grade. And my art teacher would have us draw something, and our answer every time was, when he said, that's not what it's supposed to look like, we'd say, it's abstract. And yeah. So, you know, it's funny when you start learning about this stuff from your guides. Granted, it's not mainstream and it's not necessarily something that you would learn from your physics teacher or from your art teacher, but it certainly is helpful sometimes to have some of that background, like music or art or geometry, all of which I ignored. And here I am drawing. So this picture inside of that, but those aren't the right shapes, you guys. If you look at sacred geometry, like maybe look up some of the things from Robert Ward Grant, who I follow, and I love his work, which he follows a lot of Russell. I can't think of Russell's last name right now, but I also have, it's going to bug me. I'm pausing this. Oh, wait, Ward. I think Russell Ward. I'll have to look it up and I'll post some of his stuff as a link. I think it's Russell Ward. Apologies if I'm screwing that up, you guys. But Even Helena Blavatsky, I read her book, one of them. Wow, that was a hard read. But what it does is it helps open the imagination and expands consciousness. It helps us to visualize science. It helps us to feel mathematics. It helps us to feel geometry, which is mathematics, of course. It helps us to really conceptualize abstract art, right? Because it's in the feeling behind the work. Now, I'm sharing that because that's kind of what's happening with this coherence that we're creating. Oh, I froze. Not sure how much that was missed. But it kind of helps to essentially allow that coherence to help us to understand the bigger things about life, science. We feel it, right? We see it. I see it in visualizations. So this geometry isn't correct necessarily, but it's a good, just basic idea of what's around us, right? And I see all of this, and so here we are, and I made reference to this in my other video as the, what did I call us? Not the neurons, the nodes, right? So think of these moments. We are the nodes or the access points as star seeds and light workers. All right, so here's one star seed, lighten up that grid. There's another star seed, lighten up that grid. That energy is connecting, and then there's another one. And then also, this is on a galactic scale. So that's on an Earth scale, right? Maybe this is a group of star seeds that's interacting. And our ancestors are helping us with this, right? A lot of people, maybe yourself included, are starting to speak light language, are starting to remember. If you have a lot of synchronicities about a certain place on Earth, and you get goosebumps when you look at that place, or you see a shaman, or you see a particular Native American tribe that calls to your heart, or you feel a connection with Hawaii, or you feel a connection with Easter Island, or you see the Netherlands. I'm getting goosebumps, you guys. It is your memories coming back online, and that's another message that they want me to share with you guys. This is happening for all of us. And I get a lot of sessions that I do with beautiful light workers and starseeds that are frustrated sometimes because they aren't speaking light language, or they don't remember who they are. It happens in different ways. So it's not just going to happen. Maybe one day you aren't just going to start speaking in light language or in ancestral tongues or toning. Yes, you might just start singing and toning. And those are frequencies that you are transmitting in order to send out these waves and feel them, in order to possibly raise your vibration, to help you remember or access something by going into coherence that was previously inaccessible, but unaccessible because those codons or connections have been turned off, or the picture that they were showing to me is when you solder something, it's cut and then soldered. It's like those nerve connections have regrown, right? And the more we can be here, the easier that happens. So this is happening on a galactic scale. We're lighting up these grids, and then picture within these, for a moment, pretend I was saying that these are star seeds lighting up the grid. Now pretend that they're portals or bubbles, and they're sending out these booms, right? Like a ripple on a water. And picture that these lines that make up the grid or the Rubik's Cube are not solid. They're vibration. So when you send out a ripple in the water and you think of a wall of water holding a certain frequency, it moves too. Right? That's why words have such power, because the air and the ether are not solid, right? It's energy moving through energy. It's form, it's sound moving through, right? The elements, building blocks aren't necessarily solid. The platonic solids, nothing is solid, right? Everything has a vibration to it in theory, So even the platonic solids, right, are all these different architectures. So, okay, so this moves out in this boom. I'm just gonna go back into flow before I get off onto this tangent. Maybe I should, we'll see what, if there's anything else they want to add. Guys, when I say they, this is what's happening, right? I'm connecting, dialing up to these other versions of myself that are existing in the times of, and I brought up Easter Island. I have connections with Easter Island, the Aborigines, Native Americans. Then you go out Galactic Lyra, cat people, feline race, love, right? Some of that energy from Sirius, right? The high vibrational love, light, benevolent for all energy from Sirius. So it's all connected, you guys. So these all connect. And then also Native American. And I'm not just talking about Native American from the Americas, Canada, right? British Columbia, connecting in with those all the way up to up near Scotland. I could go on and on. There's a lot of different connections. Also recognizing that if you're drawn to a certain area, that energy is calling to you. Or maybe connecting with people from those areas because they're your starseed groups or soul groups, if you want to call it. And they're sending out this homing signal to help you feel home, to help you recognize you're not alone, to feel in that heart radiance that's being emitted from your brothers and sisters who are starseeds or seedlings sprouting out, sending out this sonar wave of love light. Do ahe ni estia o ko ahe. I ya astia iki na o ko o estia no ko. Do ko estia ya o ha no estia I na o onho o ko. This architecture, this star heart architecture, this start architecture is essentially layering in, I'm seeing texturing, like textures, frequencies that embed within the soul streams, the time streams, the tide streams of consciousness. As they embed within us, from us, they relay and lay out another architecture, another, I'm hearing more building blocks are then created. So there's more that's being discovered about these building blocks, right, of architecture, more elements being found, more crystals being found, discovered. Because again, we're these are unfolding in front of us. So I'm hearing certain commitments will be made, but this is a play on words. Certain coming togethers, commitment, comet, C-O-M-E-T. As these time streams are re-established, reconnected, recommitted with, committed, also with Earth and our source energy, I'm being shown that we were cut off before from certain alignments and certain counterparts, and this has been reconnected. We invite you to stay true to truth, to where you come from, source energy, to recognize that you are an outlet, a sparkle, a spark. You are a source of energy for others, not necessarily to draw from, for you are not the source in essence, meaning it's not a closed circuitry, it's open circuitry. So not feeling like, oh, it's all on me and I have to give, but recognizing like when you plug into an electrical outlet as a conduit, that's coming from somewhere. So yeah, we're the outlets, we're the conductors, we are the trailblazers is what they're telling me. But in essence, that isn't just coming from us. So sometimes that can make us feel exhausted if we feel like, oh, we're giving so much. Recognizing that we can plug into these sources and above, and that's what we're doing if we stay in this coherence. Otherwise, when we shut down, it becomes a closed circuitry feeding system. It's not able to stabilize those energies. Recognizing that as we blaze forward, as we come into this path of reunification, we are invited to come from that space of coherence, which is also in tune with the harmonics of the universe. And as these new shapes, geometries, elements, reactions, like chemical reactions, stabilize in this alchemy of creation, we then allow ourselves to attune with a bigger, more expansive projection of source. In space. And they're really asking me to reiterate here, staying in that space of non-judgment of others and where they're at in their path. Not everybody is on the same path. Not everybody is in the same, they're just not. And it's okay. So as soon as we get into that judgment, well, they're not doing the right thing, or they're not going to make it, or they're not going to ascend, or you get where I'm going with this. That's actually judgment, and that's actually ego. And I want to differentiate. A beautiful starseed pointed out to me one time her description of what judgment is. And yes, we do want to set healthy boundaries. And so judging what is for us and what is not for us is different than placing a judgment upon someone else in a form of an energy. So if we judge someone and say, well, you know what, I don't feel like that's the direction I want to head in, that's different. And not passing an energy that, oh, because they're bad, right? That's a different energy, if you can kind of get where I'm going with that. And they're showing me Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs again. So they're showing me whistle while you work. So the dwarves in Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs represent a lot more than, but I'm just seeing them like using their axe and working away, but they're whistling while they do it. And so they're kind of sharing with me that they're doing the work to bring out the diamonds and the rubies and the emeralds and the stones that have been maybe before hidden in a carbon-based space. And once they pull out those, but in doing that, yes, it can seem like a lot of work, but they're representative of emotions and still coming into that space of song, of singing, of sound and harmonics. So again, it's that 432 hertz. 432. Boy, sticky kiana. And of course I hear that song. 4, 3, 2, 1. earth below us. I don't even know if those are the words, but I'm gonna have to look that up. Pretty cool song. But they're basically showing that this is in reference, of course, to the apple. So that's the next video that I'm gonna do. I can't remember if I posted the one I did or not. So I'm just gonna do it. Love and light, guys. That's enough for now. From my heart to yours, namaste.